Think about this for a second. You're standing at a checkout counter. The air smells like burnt espresso and old floor wax, and you pull out that heavy, cold piece of matte black metal. It makes a distinct thud when you drop it on the counter, a sound engineered in a laboratory to make you feel like a king. But what if I told you that card isn't a tool for your convenience? It's actually the entry ticket to a high-stakes casino game where the rules are written in invisible ink and the dealer knows exactly when your pulse quickens. You think you're winning because you got 2% back on a steak dinner, but the house is already 3 moves ahead. Most people assume debt is a math problem, a simple lapse in judgment, or a moment of weakness. It's much more calculated than that. It's a psychological siege. And you're losing. The weight of the card is the first lie they tell you. Have you noticed how the premium cards are getting heavier? They swap the flimsy plastic for stainless steel because engineers realize that the human brain associates weight with value. When you feel that cold metal against your palm, your amygdala whispers that you're powerful, that you're untouchable. But that's the moment the trap springs shut. Scientists discovered that when you pay with cash, it actually triggers the pain centers in your brain. It's called the pain of paying. You see the physical bills leaving your hand, and you feel a micro sting of loss. Credit cards were designed to bypass that nerve entirely. They're a local anesthetic for your wallet. You don't feel the wound until the bill arrives 30 days later, and by then, the purchase high has long since evaporated into thin air. But the physical card is just a bait. The real hooks are buried deep inside the mobile apps we check every morning. Look at the interface next time you log in. The minimum payment button is usually bright, friendly, and suspiciously easy to tap. It's often highlighted in a calming blue or a celebratory green, while your total balance is hidden in a smaller, thinner font. This isn't an accident design. It's a masterclass in dark patterns. They want you to focus on that tiny, manageable number because it keeps the game going. If you pay the full balance, the game ends and the bank makes zero profit from you. They don't want you to win. They want you to stay at the table forever. Then I realized something even more disturbing. The apps are designed like slot machines, with red notification dots and pull-to-refresh animations that trigger a dopamine loop. You might think you're different because you're a points person. You got the spreadsheets, the flight trackers, and the strategy to redeem your miles for a first-class seat to Tokyo. You feel like you're outsmarting a billion-dollar industry. But here's the cold, hard reality. The banks love the points people just as much as the debtors. They call you transactors. And while you aren't paying interest, you're the most effective marketing department they've ever had. You're the one telling your friends at brunch how you got a free trip, effectively recruiting new players into a system that will eventually devour them. And research shows that even the most disciplined points hackers spend up to 30% more than they would if they were using cash. You're overpaying for a lifestyle you didn't even want, just to earn the currency of a corporation that views you as a data point. I spoke to a former risk analyst who spent a decade inside one of the big 4 banks, and what he told me changed everything. He described a secret metric they use called the break-even horizon. It's a calculated date, often years into the future, when a customer's total interest paid finally exceeds the cost of the sign-up bonus and the rewards they were given. They are perfectly happy to lose a few $100s on you today if it means they can own your spending habits for the next decade. They're betting on your life falling apart. They're betting on a car transmission failing, a medical bill appearing, or a sudden job loss. Because the moment you can't pay that balance in full, the interest rate, often a staggering 29%, kicks in like a predatory animal that's been hiding in the tall grass. This is where the game turns from a sport into a nightmare. Most people think interest is just a fee for borrowing money, but it's actually a tax on your future time. If you carry a $5,000 balance at the average interest rate and only pay the minimum, you'll end up paying back nearly $15,000 over the course of 20 years. Think about that for a second. You aren't just paying for a couch or a TV you bought 2 decades ago. You are sacrificing thousands of hours of your future labor to pay for a version of yourself that no longer exists. You are a ghost working for a ghost. The bank isn't just taking your money. They are harvesting your life force, one billing cycle at a time. I saw a man once who had 3 different cards maxed out, and he was still checking his rewards points, as if they were a life raft. But here's the turn you didn't see coming. The most dangerous part of the credit card game isn't the debt itself. It's what it does to your identity. When you have access to a $20,000 limit that isn't yours, your brain starts to incorporate that number into your net worth. You start making decisions based on a phantom reality. You buy the premium coffee, you say yes to the expensive wedding, and you convince yourself that you're a person who can afford these things. You're building a life on a foundation of sand, and the tide is always coming in. The debt becomes a secret shame that sits in the back of your mind like a low-frequency hum. It affects your sleep, your relationships, and your ability to take risks in your career. You can't quit a job you hate when your lifestyle is subsidized by a MasterCard. The industry has a specific name for people who pay their balance in full every month: deadbeats. It's an internal term used by some bank executives because those people don't generate interest revenue. Imagine that. The most responsible, financially stable people in the system are viewed as a failure of the business model. This tells you everything you need to know about who this game was built for. It wasn't built for the deadbeats. It was built for the people who are struggling, the people living paycheck to paycheck, and the people who are one bad break away from a spiral. The entire infrastructure of the modern economy is tilted to ensure you stay in motion, spending money you haven't earned to impress people you don't like, while the interest compounds in a silent, dark room. Let's look at the psychology of the swipe one more time. When you use a credit card, there is no physical limit to the transaction. If a dinner costs $50 or $500, the motion is exactly the same, a flick of the wrist. This decoupling of the purchase from the cost is the ultimate psychological weapon. It creates a spending fog where the numbers lose their meaning. I remember watching a woman at a high-end boutique buy a leather bag that cost more than her monthly rent. She didn't hesitate. She didn't count the bills. She just tapped her phone against the terminal, heard the cheerful beep, and walked out. The beep is the sound of a trap being set. It's designed to be frictionless because friction is the only thing that makes us stop and think. I once saw a ledger from a collection agency that showed the breakdown of what people were actually going into debt for. It wasn't luxury yachts or gold watches. It was groceries. It was gas. It was the mundane, everyday necessities of life. This is the ultimate cruelty of the credit card game. It markets itself as a lifestyle of glamour and travel, but for millions of people, it's a high-interest payday loan disguised as a premium product. They've managed to turn the basic act of survival into a profit center for shareholders. And the worst part is, we've been conditioned to feel like it's our fault. We're told we just need more financial literacy or better budgeting skills. But how do you budget against a system that has spent billions of dollars studying how to bypass your rational mind?
There's a certain smell in the air when you walk into a bank, a mix of cold air conditioning and expensive carpet cleaner that's designed to make you feel safe. It's the same psychological trick used in hospitals or high-end hotels. They want you to feel that the institution is permanent, stable, and benevolent. But if you look closely at the fine print on the back of those glossy mailers you get every week, you'll see the truth. The terms can change at any time. The interest rate can adjust based on the market. The rewards can be devalued with the stroke of a pen. You are playing a game where the opponent is also the referee, the scorekeeper, and the owner of the stadium. You can follow every rule and still find yourself standing in the rain with nothing to show for it. I remember a moment sitting in a crowded mall watching people frantically tap their cards against terminals. It looked like a ritual, 1,000 little taps, 1,000 little beeps, 1,000 little debts being born in real time. I realized then that I wasn't looking at a marketplace, I was looking at a harvest. Each person was tethered by an invisible silver cord to a server farm in South Dakota or Delaware, where an algorithm was calculating their risk-to-reward ratio. The system doesn't want you to go bankrupt. That's a loss. It wants you to be just barely keeping your head above water. It wants you in that sweet spot where you're stressed enough to keep paying the interest, but not so desperate that you walk away from the table entirely. Then there's the credit score myth. We've been taught to treat this number like a GPA or a measure of our moral character. We celebrate when it goes up and panic when it drops. But what is a credit score really? It's a reliability of profit score. It doesn't measure how much money you have in the bank or how successful you are. It measures how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back with interest. You can have $10 million in cash and a credit score of 0. You can be a broke college student with $50,000 in debt and a credit score of 800. The score is a leash that keeps you aligned with the bank's interests. It's the ultimate gamification of debt, turning our financial survival into a video game where the only way to level up is to stay in the system. The shock comes when you realize the game isn't just about the money anymore, it's about the data. Every time you use that card, you're handing over a map of your life. The banks know you're pregnant before you tell your parents. They know your marriage is failing because you've started spending more at bars and less at grocery stores. They know when you're about to lose your job because your spending patterns shift toward discount retailers. This data is then sold, packaged, and used to target you with even more precise offers, creating a feedback loop of consumption that is nearly impossible to break. You aren't the customer of the credit card company, you are the product. Your habits, your weaknesses, and your future earnings are the commodities being traded on the floor of the stock exchange. I didn't realize how deep the conditioning went until I tried to stop using cards altogether. The first time I stood in line and pulled out a $20 bill, I felt a strange wave of anxiety. I felt slow. I felt like I was inconveniencing the person behind me. I felt poor. That was the most disturbing realization of all. The system has successfully linked our self-worth to the ease of our spending. We've been trained to view frictionless debt as a sign of status and physical cash as a sign of failure. But as I held that $20 bill, I felt something else too. I felt the weight of it. I felt the finality of it. Once that bill left my hand, it was gone. There was no pending transaction, no points earned, just a simple, honest exchange of value. They start the recruitment process earlier than you think. Have you ever wondered why credit card companies are so aggressive on college campuses? I've seen them set up booths with free t-shirts and plastic frisbees, enticing 19-year-olds who don't have a job to sign away their financial future. It's not because they expect those students to be profitable today. It's because they know that the first card you get is usually the one you keep for life. They are buying your loyalty with a cheap piece of merchandise, hoping that you'll carry that debt through your 20s, your 30s, and beyond. It's a long-con strategy that would be illegal in almost any other industry, but in the world of finance, it's just called customer acquisition. They are planting seeds in a garden they plan to harvest for decades. And it's not just the banks, it's the retailers too. Every store you walk into now has its own store card that offers you 10% off your purchase if you sign up right now. They make the process so fast and so seamless that you don't even realize you're opening a new line of credit while you're holding a pair of jeans. These cards often have even higher interest rates, sometimes exceeding 35%. The retailer gets a kickback, the bank gets a new debtor, and you get a $10 discount on a shirt that will fall apart in 6 months. This is the ecosystem of the modern trap. It's everywhere. It's in your inbox, it's at the checkout counter, and it's even in the buy now, pay later buttons that have infested every corner of the internet. We are living in an era of fiscal awakening where the old rules no longer apply. The game has become too efficient, too predatory, and too integrated into our daily lives to be ignored. You can't just be careful anymore. You have to understand that the device in your pocket and the card in your wallet are precision-engineered tools designed to extract your future wealth. The house is always winning because the house owns the logic of the world we live in. But there is a quiet power in refusing to play by their rules. There is a quiet power in embracing the friction, in feeling the pain of paying, and in reclaiming the time that the banks are so desperate to harvest. The only way to win the credit card game is to realize that the game was never meant for you to win. Think about the person you would be if you didn't owe a single cent to anyone. If every dollar you earned stayed in your pocket. If your decisions weren't dictated by a minimum payment or a credit score. That version of you exists, but they are buried under layers of plastic and digital notifications. The banks will tell you that you need them. They will tell you that life is impossible without a line of credit. They will show you pictures of sunsets and happy families on their landing pages to make you believe that happiness is something that can be financed at 24% APR. But look at the screen when you're done here. Look at the cards in your wallet. Do they feel like freedom? Or do they feel like a heavy, cold piece of metal designed to keep you trapped? In the end, the most terrifying thing isn't the debt or the interest rates or even the data collection. It's the silence. It's the way the system works so perfectly that we don't even realize we're in it. We just keep swiping, keep tapping, and keep wondering why we feel so tired all the time. We're running on a treadmill that's powered by our own anxiety, trying to reach a finish line that the banks keep moving further away. The game is designed to make you fail, but it's also designed to make you think that failing is just part of life. It's not. It's a choice. And the moment you see the machinery for what it really is, the game starts to lose its power over you. Sit in that silence for a moment, feel the weight of the air, and then decide what your next move is.